Case 10, Vanish of Kamen Rider Zeztz. Let's talk about what stood out. I like the action in this one a lot. The nightmare looked wild, like a demonic Mickey Mouse mixed with a sheep or a dust bunny, maybe. I'm not really sure. He had these crazy glasses on. The vocal performance actually reminded me a little bit of Edamon, the English language version of Edamon. I don't know what Japanese Edamon sounded like, but I thought, I wonder if this is what Japanese Edamon sounded like, and then they decided to give him a little, kingly attitude, or what. But anyway, the action was really cool. What I really liked was they, again, pushed the dream logic, and there were even little interesting dream logic flourishes, like when they're fighting inside this art museum, built this weird, like, upside-down pyramid. Edamon, see, it's all connected. Anyway, when they're fighting this building with this upside-down triangle structure to it, there's screens that are showing some of the action that's going on. So it's showing Zeztz fighting with the Nightmare, and it's also showing Nox trying to shoot. I think he was trying to shoot Zero, which we'll get back to that later. Hopefully I remember to actually come back to that. But anyway, it's cool because it's showing it on like a white screen projector with like a little projector firing at it. And so you can tell like the visual quality of it is not great. Like it's obviously not like CGI'd in or what would you call that? Composited into the scene. It's they're recording a projection of a recording that's either canned or live, and it's like even Nox is seeing from a different angle, so you see him looking this way, but it's the camera's like looking at his face. That's showing on the projected screen, and it's just really neat because it's like extra visuals. And then at some point, Zeztz charges at the Nightmare, and they go through the screen to the location outside that it's showing at this point, and that's how it transitions. There's a little, whatever CGI haze, and they ended up showing him going through into that scene fighting the thing, which was really, really cool, and I really liked that. So I wanted to praise it because I'm going to unpraise it in a little bit. Let me see if I have written down here. Yu Yu Takashi was the writer for this episode, but I don't know if I have the director written down or not. It looks like I don't. I recognize his name, so I'll have to try to talk about him in the next episode, in the next review. But I want to talk about the barrier form. So I looked up, I've got a lot of problems with the capsums, and it's an evolving conversation, my issue with them, but we'll start with this. I think it looks really goofy. Actually, when he brings it together, it looks really dumb. But when he doesn't, it actually looks decent. I like these big things on his arms that he chops with. But the fact that they like make his face when he brings them together, they sort of make his face, but not really. I don't like that. I don't understand it. It seems strange. Like this is from Kamen Rider O's. He's like a cobra, a tortoise, and something else. That one makes a lot more sense. It has like a turtle shell, half of a turtle shell in like each form, and O's brings them together. And then boom, he's got a big shield, which is pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of like in Digimon 02, Adventure 02, when actually it was in Tamers as well. Anyway, War Greymon can pull his shield off of his back and put it in front of him sometimes. Little Terriermon does that in an episode of Tamers. I think when there's like the Snake Deva attacking the train. Anyway, snake on a train. Anyway, so like that's cool, and those visuals were nice, and they worked there. It was an anime, both of them, so maybe the animated quality of it made it work better. But just something with the face being a shield, I find really dumb, and I don't like it. And I believe, well, I'll get to the details of the forms later. But anyway, it looks goofy. I don't understand it. So the capsums. So this transitions into my issue with the capsums. Zero explains what the capsums are like and how they're structured. The red ones are for physical things, so they boost his strength or whatever. The blue ones are technological, so he gets like machinery type stuff, which put a pin in that. The green ones are about the body and the mind, sort of. I think it's called Esprim because it has ESP in it. It's supposed to be like ESP, Esper, ability, something that's in different Japanese media. We don't call them Espers here in the United States. That's why we won the war. And the purple one is called Wonder. So I don't know if it's exactly, Impact, Esprim, Technolog or Technolam, and then Wonder, if that's exactly how the names work. But it's supposed to be those 4 dimensions of reality. And the purple ones, the Wonder ones, can bend reality altogether. So I guess, technology isn't like a fundamental aspect of reality, though. It's a fact, but it's not a fundamental aspect, like gravity and time and space, and I don't know what else, but like time and space and maybe life are like fundamentals to the existence of the universe. For sure, time and space. Anyway, I think you get what I'm saying. But like machinery, technology is not a fundamental underpinning of reality. I don't know what else it could be, but like it's very much, they wanted to do these cool toy designs and they are forcing them into the show to fit the show and to fit like the lore of the show, which I kind of like and I kind of don't like. If you're going to have these toys, either don't explain them at all or give them really good, really deep lore. I haven't seen all of Kamen Rider Kuga, however, within the first 10 episodes, which I did see of Kuga years ago, Kuga's trying to, Yusuke is trying to figure out, what do these forms do? And how do they work? And how do I go from one form to another? I started off white and then I became red, and red is like my standard thing, but somebody throws me a stick when I'm blue and I can turn it into this kind of weapon. And if, Ichijo gives me his gun when I'm green, I can then turn it into a big, crossbow type of thing. And like, there's a logic to it, but it's not told to us. It's discovered. And I don't know if the deeper you get into the show, it is really laid out, but it's done at Kuga level writing. And I like Yuya Takahashi. However, I don't think he's doing a good job of fitting into the constraints of this show and what they don't want to do with the capsums and how they're divided out. For example, previously in the prison episode, the second half of the prison case, whatever, we had him use projection. He used projection, not astral projection, machine projection, mechanical projection. And I believe his projections fought the 3 Chainsaw Man nightmares, and they were able to fight them all independently of one another. However, I did notice at the very end they do finish with the same kind of like chop or kick or whatever to defeat them simultaneously. So if they're just like copy, but then he was doing something else too, I think, at the same time. So it's very confusing. If there's supposed to be 4 independently functioning things, then you either need to be using the, oh my gosh, did Kamen Rider Wizard steal this from Harry Potter? The little time turner thing? Because he got the Drago timer and he was able to produce multiples of himself, and he was able to make Dragon Sentai, Wizard. Did he really steal the time turner? I gotta look into that. That's hilarious, if true. But anyway, but it also makes sense that you would be able to do that. I mean, we've seen Back to the Future, right? There's 2 Martys in one timeline at the same time, simultaneously timeline. Sorry. Anyway, my point is, the Wonder Capsums should have the ability to do reality-breaking things like make 3, 5, 10, 100, Gatakiriba, another O's reference, levels of Zeztz for Baku to get stuff done in the dream world. But that's not how it happened. It happened through the use of technology, which I guess was like a scan and like projection of a thing, or of himself, a copy of himself, a mechanical, technological thing, and it doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't really fit. It doesn't really seem to make sense, and they're really just forcing it. And I find it silly, and I find it like breaking the world building, and I find it really irritating. And it's not silly in the same way that like Fujimi and Nausicaa like rolling in through his window and going out through his window and jumping down, and there's like dogs barking and a cat and things like that. Like those things are funny and they're silly and goofy, but like they're just like dumb little gags or ticks in the show, versus this is like, to me, deep lore stuff. But supposedly, all I'm hearing from Japan, or not all I'm hearing, some segments of the Japanese fandom who are interacting with the English-speaking fandom on Twitter, X, whatever, are saying that Ultraman and Kamen Rider specifically are made for preschoolers. And I guess if the shows are in fact made for preschoolers, then it makes sense why there would be gaps in the logic and things like that. But my counter to that is, then why is there blood? Why is there so much violence? Why is there so much danger? Why are there alluringly dressed characters from time to time? None of that makes sense if it's a children's show. But, it is a different culture, so it's definitely not what I would put in my children's shows, but here we are. I talked about Nausicaa and Fujimi rolling into the scene and rolling out of the scene. The whole thing with Nox being an agent, a rogue agent or something else, is interesting. I wonder, does that mean he was working for our boy Zero? Because Zero sure looked like he was, even though it's a suit actor, in a robot suit of a motorcycle. I could have sworn, I think Baku's actor was holding something up and then like lowered it so there'd be a little reflection of something like dropping down, almost like a anime sweat drop, like of being irritated. Because when he learns about the Esprim recovery capsule being stolen, he says, this is very concerning. Who did that? And then when he finds out who did it, he like has that little moment and he pauses. He's very still, but this thing happens on his face, and it feels like it's supposed to be. It feels like it's on purpose. First of all, to me, and second of all, if it's an accident, it's a very well timed, fortuitous, serendipitous accident. And three, I feel like we're supposed to get that there's some shared history between them. And I think that when Baku put up the barrier between Nem is protecting the bike Zero, she's here, Nem. The bike is here, like this. This is what bikes do. Anyway, and then Baku comes along and he uses a cool power from barrier, and he puts a force field around her, which is pretty cool. I'll talk about the Esper stuff another time, but just, that makes sense. That a force field type of thing makes sense for an Esper kind of power. But she's protecting Zero, and to me, Nox seemed to be aiming for Zero before she did that, before she jumped in front of him. And yeah, I'm very curious as to see what actually is going on. So anyway, I got to wrap this up. I'm really impressed that the show, we're 10 episodes deep, and there are continuous arcs being delivered. Multiple characters each have an arc that they're developing. Fujimi has this arc of trying to, like, he's happy and excited about the black cases, and now he wants to find, rescue, whatever, his partner, who is Nox, somehow, even though Nox says that, that name no longer has any meaning to me. And, we're getting these weekly cases solved, and it takes about 2 weeks, but they get solved. We get, red herring set up, we get mystery set up, we get the solving of it set up, we get encounter with the monster, then having challenges with the monster, then overcoming the monster. We have Nausicaa's, developing as a person. She's becoming less skeptical and, relying on the evidence to believe in the black cases and to help her boss through it, even as she's irritated with him and Baku being, so funny. And we still have the ongoing Nem mystery, and we have the ongoing Nox mystery, and why is Nox working with the nightmares? What does he seek to gain? Probably his body back, but other things too, maybe. And it's very curious, and did Nox, this just got introduced this episode, is he an agent, is he number 6, or is he number 9, or is he number 1? And was he recruited by Mr. Bikeman, by Zero? And if you look at his sword on the side, it has this weird area where it's crusted over. It sure looks like there's a round indentation there for a capsule to go into. So I wonder what's going on there. Okay, I really got to close this one out. So again, I like that this episode is blending this ongoing, satisfying mystery, or satisfying danger and action and escalation of whatever conflict with the monster of the week, with these long ongoing arcs. And I like it. And even though there's silly stuff that I'm complaining about, I'm still really enjoying the show overall, and I think it's very good. And it's some of the best Kamen Rider I've seen, and I've seen a few. So I really like that. What do you think, though? What are your thoughts on the episode? Do you agree with my complaints about projection belonging in Wonder instead? Do you think that the trying to force the toy catalog to fit in with the show and the lore of the show is kind of ruining it? Do you think they should do it anyway? Do you think they should have the toys and just not say anything about them and just let it be? Would that be a better way to do it? Or is it better to integrate it into the lore? And if it's being integrated in the lore, does it need to be done better than it's being done now? And I don't know, do you think Nem might be an agent too? Because she said that she and Nox were like each other, and then he says that he's an agent. So does that mean she's an agent too? If so, how? And what does that mean? She was an orphan, so maybe she was an agent before. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm satisfied week to week. And also, I love how it gets me thinking about what's going to come next, and I'm enjoying that. What about you? Anyway, for now, this is MJ signing out with Rider Tears, Henshin Inspection, all that good stuff. Check out all my other things. I have long and ongoing investigations into some stuff that I'm doing on Henshin Reflection, talking about, well, you'll see. Go check out the links. Find out everything at my website. Also, before I really go, you're here because you enjoy children's media. I'm here because I enjoy children's media. I wrote a kids book called Mockring Mayhem. You can find out more about it here. I'm not actually Canadian. Sorry, I'm just doing it for clout. Canadian for clout. That's me. You can find out more about my book with the book trailer coming up here. Magical bugs battle monsters in this exciting fantasy adventure. Gremlings prey upon children. Growbugs protect them. When a gremling finds a hidden growbug fort, the whole flock makes a surprise attack. How will the growbugs survive? Find out in Mockring Mayhem. Learn more at growbugs.com, where you can find out more about our mailing list, receive behind-the-scenes information, and get all the latest news on the growbugs.